Thank you, Vice Chairman. Good afternoon, everybody. I have been asked to present a brief perspective from Japan with regard to the changes that are taking place in the Asia-Pacific region. We all know that the Asia-Pacific region has become an important area of economic and technological development. The success story of Japan is too well known to everybody to really need any kind of enunciation here. But now the dramatic economic trajectories of China and India have drawn the utmost attention of the world. And for the first time, three major Asian countries are going to play an important role in this region. We should not forget the importance of other countries like South Korea and also ASEAN group. Ambassador Singh told us about ASEAN. So these are also important players in the whole region. When you talk about Asia Pacific, there are two major trends. One is positive, the other is negative. With regard to positive, one should say that the region is integrating very fast. According to the Asian Development Bank, Asia is now as economically interdependent as North America or the European Union. And Asian countries trade more among themselves than the members of NAFTA or European Union at the time of their integration. Several regional forums like APEC, EAS, ARF, etc. testify to the degree of interdependence that has really materialized in this region. Now, these trends have been buttressed by a large number of partnership agreements, free trade agreements. According to the Asian Development Bank statistics, in the year 2002, there were 52 such partnership agreements in this region. And today, in 2002, you had about 132 such friendship agreements, and then about 75 were in the making. So all these things really indicate the kind of interdependence that the countries have achieved. But at the same time, we should also see that there are certain contradictory trends also. The region is very severely beset with problems like territorial questions, historical issues, problems connected with maritime security, nuclear proliferation, economic disparities, and also increasing military spending all over the region. Now, when we talk about Japan's perspective, I think one should identify three major concerns from the Japanese point of view. One is, of course, the threat posed by North Korea and North Korea's nuclear brinkmanship. We all know that Japan does not have diplomatic relations with North Korea, and there are very serious bilateral problems between the two, including questions like abduction issue, etc., which have stood in the way of normalization. The second one is, of course, the emergence of China as a strong military and economic power. Many Japanese believe that China has become a major driver of geostrategic shift in this region. Many studies conducted both in America and Japan also point out that by the year 2030 there is going to be a major power transition in this region, and China is likely to replace United States. So that's a real matter for concern for a traditional ally like Japan. Now we have to understand that China is also the largest trading partner of most of these countries in this region. And thereby it has come to occupy a very influential position in the Asia-Pacific region's economy. Now it's a military modernization its regular intrusions into the territorial waters of Japan, its assertive maritime activities in and around Japan, and also its intransigence in the South China Sea area with regard to code of conduct, etc. They have all caused very serious concerns in Japan particularly, in addition to, of course, other countries of the region. But at the same time, Japanese also understand the importance of China. China is also very much important for solving certain regional problems like Korea's nuclear brinkmanship, and also problems that are there in the South China Sea and also East China Sea. Therefore, many Japanese believe that any measure to tackle China should really combine aspects of cooperation as well as competition. That is, competitive and cooperative approaches have to be adopted to tackle the challenge posed by China. Now, let me come to the domestic situation in Japan. We all know that there was a long, prolonged political instability in Japan from 1993 onwards, when the post-Second World War political structure collapsed following the downfall of the Liberal Democratic Party. This also coincided with the downturn of Japanese economy from 1991 onwards, and the Japanese economy has still not recovered till today. Now, a major change took place in the month of December 2012 when Shinzo Abe was able to score a spectacular victory in the lower house election, and that was followed by another victory in the case of upper house election in the month of July 2013. Now today, Prime Minister Abe is enjoying commanding majority in both houses of parliament, which means that there is going to be considerable stability, political stability in Japan, at least for the next 3 years until he faces the next election. His position is very strong as reflected in many of the opinion polls. And he has also embarked on a very, very significant political and economic agenda. He has correctly realized that Japan can come back and play an important role in the Asia-Pacific region only if the Japanese economy is once again put on a positive, a robust trajectory. Therefore, he is working very, very, very seriously on the need for revamping the Japanese economy under the rubric called Abenomics. I think probably from all reports one understands that the Japanese economy has started now moving forward. Now, apart from that, what are his strategies with regard to the Asia-Pacific region? In my opinion, he has actually identified 3 major areas where he can make appropriate measures to address the challenges that come from China as well as other countries like North Korea. The first one is, he believes that security alliance with the United States will continue to be the cornerstone of Japanese diplomacy in the coming years. Therefore, he has extended full support to American policy of rebalancing to Asia-Pacific region. Not only that, he has also joined the negotiations for TPP. Now, negotiations are going on between the two, even though there are some differences. Recently, I think in Singapore, they got stuck on 1 or 2 aspects of their bilateral relations, economic relations. But ultimately, I think Abe is very keen to see that TPP materializes. Also, he has taken enough steps to see that the military bases realignment in Japan goes smoothly. He has already succeeded in that. Earlier, of course, during the Democratic Party of Japan's regime, there was a deadlock between the United States and Japan on this question, but now the obstacle has been cleared, and I think to that extent, I think the Americans are quite happy about that. So thirdly, both Japan and USA also have agreed to revise the 1997 security guidelines. So those guidelines were formed in the year 1997 in the aftermath of the Taiwan crisis, when the Americans were able to deploy their two major aircraft carriers to the Taiwan Strait. But today, the Americans cannot really assure themselves of that because of the growing naval power of the Chinese and also their ability to block the transport, etc., etc., in that region. Therefore, I think both countries have agreed to revise the guidelines, taking into account the changes that have taken place in that region. That I think is a very important development in the bilateral relations. Now, 4 or 5 days ago, the U.S. government published its quadrennial defense review of 2014. If you go through that report, you also find that the U.S. is very, very keen to enhance its naval presence in Japan itself, in addition to, of course, increasing its naval strength to the extent of about 60%, I think a point that was talked about earlier. Therefore, you find that alliance with the U.S. is very important for Abe, and Abe is in a position because of his political strength in the Japanese parliament. He is able to give a push to this alliance. Now, the second point is, the second aspect of his policy is, while Abe is very keen to promote alliance relations with Washington, he is also very keen to see that Japan itself develops a very, very reliable, a viable kind of military force. Now, I would like to just mention only 3 or 4 steps that he has taken. I will not go into the details because of paucity of time. Number one is, Abe, first of all, has established National Security Council, which people say that is really going to strengthen the military strength of Japan in the coming years. It is going to give major directions to Japan's defense policy in the coming years. Secondly, he has also published Japan's national security strategy. After so many years, the first strategy was published way back in the 1950s, and after that so many changes took place in that region, but nothing was done to project Japan's national security strategy. Now that has been published. Along with that, you also have National Defense Promotion Guidelines, or Program Guidelines, NDPG, which again is a very important document, which is going to see that Japan develops a very reliable, a formidable, a comprehensive security architecture in the coming years. Therefore, these are all very important developments which Abe has taken. We all know Abe's orientation, political orientation. He has always believed that Japan should emerge as a normal country as early as possible. What he means by normal country is that Japan should have its own constitution. In fact, he wants to have a new constitution if possible. If that is not possible, at least he wants to see that Article 9, which has stood in the way of Japan's developing its own defense force, at least that is removed or amended by the Japanese parliament. Now, Americans are quite happy about it. Now, connected with this amendment is also the question of Japan's exercising collective self-defense, which is again an important aspect, concerning Japan's evolution as not a military power, as a country with a responsible and also credible kind of military force. Now, what are the problems that he faces? He is already having majority power in parliament. So what really prevents him from pushing through this amendment? Now, even though he is having enough majority, yes, I'll just take two more minutes. He is not able to push the process of amendment because of certain domestic pressures, because he has to evolve a national consensus within Japan. And we all know that Abe's government is a coalition government. His political partner is New Komeito, which is dead set against amending the constitution. Therefore, how to take the Komeito party along is going to be a subject of considerable importance for Abe. Now, with regard to collective self-defense, now the real question is, Japan, according to the UN Charter, enjoys the right to collective defense, but it cannot exercise it because of the Article 9 of the Constitution. So Abe thinks that there are two ways of changing this. One way is just to let the Cabinet Legislative Bureau announce that we are really going to develop this collective self-defense process without even bothering about Article 9, etc., etc. The other thing is you can formally amend the Constitution of Japan, that is by amending Article 9. But amending is not very easy, as I said earlier. Apart from building a national consensus, it's a very, very difficult process. That is, any proposal for amendment has to be ratified by each house of the parliament by 2/3 majority, and then ultimately the proposal has to be put before the public in a general referendum. Therefore, it's going to take a long time, and Abe is really not patient enough to wait until that time. Therefore, he also thinks about, instead of amending Article 9, he wants to amend Article 96, which actually says that...
May I please request you to wind up, please?
Yeah. Therefore, Article 96 now is just, change Article 9 and then say that the process of changing the Constitution is only a simple majority and not 2/3 majority. I don't know to what extent he is going to succeed in that also. Last part of my presentation is, see, while Abe pins his faith in the alliance, he also wants to diversify his security relations. He wants to have regional security understandings with countries like India, Australia, and things of that kind. I have already circulated one paper for that. We have seen how not only India, not only Japan, most of the countries in the region have actually opted for regional, that is within Asia, they wanted to have intra-Asian security agreements. There are more than 25 or 26 such intra-Asian security agreements. And all these agreements have been signed because these countries believe that these agreements can really overcome the uncertainties which are being actually caused by the rise of China and also by the uncertainty of American policy in the region. Therefore, some of these important agreements have been signed, and Japan itself has signed one with India, one with Australia, and there are many understandings with countries like Singapore, Vietnam, etc. Now, even India also has done it. India has signed an agreement with Australia, for example. We have really entered into so many security understandings with several countries of this region. Therefore, this is an important development within Asia. That is, the intra-Asian security arrangements, leaving USA outside the purview of this. I think all these agreements have come into existence. Japan also has agreed to give, for example, India US-2 amphibious aircraft, etc., etc. That means for the first time, Japan has broken a new path by actually promoting security cooperation with India. Similarly, Japan also done to countries like Vietnam, Philippines, etc. So therefore, I think Abe's security policy in the region actually depends upon three aspects. One is US-Japan alliance. Second, That is how to promote and how to develop Japan's security strength or defense strength, and thirdly, Japan's eagerness to enter into several intra-Asian security agreements, keeping USA out. I think I'll stop here. Thanks.